Hi guys, welcome to lesson 1 where we're going to talk all about radicals. And the first thing I want to talk about is if you have a number like this that is a fractional exponent, you can rewrite it as a root. So when you rewrite this number on the bottom, that becomes your root, and this number on the top, that becomes your exponent. So for instance, if I had like x to the 3/7 power, then 3 would be my exponent and 7 would be my root. What you have to think about is if I had like the square root of 4, that's actually like my root would be 2. And so this would be the same thing as like the 1/2 power, but we don't put a 2 there. So when we're going from here to here, we're not going to put the 2 there, which gets kind of confusing. So let's go through this. So if I were to say for this first one here, rewrite using radical notation, I'm going to say the 6th root of 44 to the 1st power, but I don't really need the exponent. So I'm just going to call it the 6th root of 44. For 39, this is where anytime you have a 2 in the bottom, we are not going to put that root there. We're just going to say 39 to the 7th power, like that. And sometimes you'll see the 7 as the exponent on the outside, like you do down here. Either one is fine. It does not matter. Okay, and then this last one, hugs need negative, or negatives need hugs. So I'm going to have -32, and the 5th root goes up there, and then the 3rd root either goes on the inside or the outside. Okay, now we're going to go the other way, and we are going to write these as exponents. So this is going to be 8 to the 2/3 power. This is going to be 16 to the 3/4 power. And remember, if there's nothing there, that's a 2, so that's going to be 11 to the 7/2 power. Okay, now we're going to learn about simplifying radicals. So what I like to do is, if there's no numbers, I'm going to put a little 2 here, and I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 2 go into 2? And 2 goes into 2 one time, so that's going to be our exponent that comes out. And 2 times 1 is 2, so I'm not going to have any leftovers, so I'm just going to leave that alone. Okay, let's see. 2 goes into 11 5 times. So 2 times 5 is 10, so we're going to have a leftover of y to get to 11. Okay, and we'll talk about what to do with those leftovers in a second. Okay, 2 goes into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4, so I'm going to have a leftover of z. So my answer is going to be all of these on the outside. So it's going to be x, y to the 5th, z squared, and then square root, and then these are going to be left over underneath the square root. Y, z, that. Okay, notice this one has a like a number, a coefficient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type it into my calculator, just worrying about the coefficient. So I'm going to type in the square root of 27. Well, the square root of 27 is 3 square root of 3. And so I'm just going to rewrite that simplified. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. So, and worry about the exponents now. So 2 goes into 3 one time. So a to the 1st is going to come out. Let's see, 2 times 1 is 2. So I'm going to have an a left over. Okay, so I'm going to cross that out. Let's see, 2 goes into 9 4 times. So b to the 4th is going to come out. 2 times 4 is 8. So I have a leftover of b to get to 9. 2 times what is 16? So that is 8. So I'm going to have a c to the 8th power, and I have no leftovers. So these 3 are going to be underneath my square root. And so I'm going to have, let's see, I still have this guy on the outside. So all of these are going to go on the outside. So I'm going to say 3 a to the 1st, b to the 4th, c to the 8th, and then square root of 3ab. Okay, let's do this one here. So I'm going to type in my calculator. Well, the square root of 144 is 12. So if I type that into my calculator and simplify it, it's just going to be a 24. So notice there's no square root, so that's okay. So I'm just going to put a 24 on the outside, and then I have an x to the fourth, y to the eighth. And so I'm going to put a little 2 there. So 2 goes into 4 2 times, and I don't have a leftover. 2 goes into 8 4 times, and I don't have a leftover. So my answer is not going to involve a square root. It's just 24 x squared y to the fourth, like that. Okay, these we're totally going to cheat on our calculator. So I just want you to make sure that you can type it in your calculator and get the correct answer. Okay, again, so I have the answers here. Just make sure that you can get them on the calculator. And then same thing down here with these two. So I'm going to put those answers up here in just a second. You might see it where like these two might be turned around. So like if you saw that, 1 plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus 1. So like we can change these terms around totally fine. It's just how like, you know, that might be an answer choice. These mean the same thing. It's just turned around. Okay, go ahead and try to do these next. Okay, so this is what your answers should look like on all of these. And again, like your calculator is the place to go to for that. Okay, so on the next page, we're going to really talk about graphing. And I would totally just like type this into Desmos. Make sure you can find the square root button on Desmos. When you type this in, I'm not going to flip-flop back and forth, but like go to the table and you should be able to see like, so once you type this in, you know, push the table button under settings, and you should see that like finding the nice number. So 0, 0, 1, 1, 4, 2. And so that's where I'm going to kind of start there. Even if you went to like 9, 3, that would be 1. So square roots are kind of like half a parabola on its side. So that's what we're going to look at here. Okay, notice it starts at 0, 0. So we're going to use this as a starting point for our domain and our range. So whatever your starting point is, that's what we're going to help guide it. So notice that our x's start here and they get bigger. So I'm going to say x is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, now let's look at the y. So the y's start here and get bigger. And so I'm going to say y is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so over here, I am going to now graph number 2. So number 2, if I type this in to Desmos, I would see that my new starting point is going to be 1, 3. And so I'm going to take, hold on a second. I'm going to take this point and I'm going to go over 1 and up 1, 2, 3. So I'm transforming it. So how does this graph compare? So these were those transformations come into play. So like we're moving everything over 1 to the right and up 3. So like you could totally see this on Desmos, but just know that's what you're doing. So if I move this point over to the right 1 and up 3, it's going to go there. If I move this point to the right 1 and up 3, it's going to go there. If I move this one to the right 3, or sorry, right 1 and up 3, it's going to go there. And this one, right 1, up 1, 2, 3, it's going to go there. So again, I'm just moving it. I'm transforming it, just like we learned. Remember, anything with the x's go left, right. Anything on the outside goes up and down. Okay, so let's talk about how this is going to affect our domain and range. So again, our starting point is 1, 3. So domain, that is going to be like where x's start. and 3, that's going to be where our y star for the range. Okay, so the domain, I'm going to say instead of like over here, x is greater than or equal to 0, I'm going to say x is greater than or equal to 1. And then for my range, instead of saying y is greater than or equal to 0, I'm going to say y is greater than or equal to 3. And again, I'm getting it there and there for my x and y. Okay, so this is just a review of transformations. And so we're going to go down here and just kind of see how it applies to square root functions. So these should be totally familiar. So like this one, it's going to be left 4 because x's, we never trust our x's. And then this is up 3. This one is going to be right 1 and down 8. This, anytime you see a negative, so like here and here, we're going to say vertical flip. Anytime this 2, anytime there's a number there, that's either a stretch or compression. And so I'm going to say stretch of 2. And then we're going to go back here. That's right 3 and up 5. Okay, again, on number 4, that's a vertical flip. And then that, I'm going to say down 9. Here's a number out in front, so I'm going to say stretch of 3. And then here, I'm going to say left 5. This is another vertical flip. And then this right 8 and up 1. Okay, for these last ones, we are just going to type these in on Desmos. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a second. So if you'll notice, I typed this in. If you're needing help finding the square root button, it's right there. And so we're just going to set equal to 0. Anytime you solve equations, it's going to just be a straight vertical line. And so this is going to be, in this case, all the variables are x's, but make sure if it's like another variable, make sure you put it in as x into Desmos. But then for your answer, like it's going to be like x equals or like a equals and then your number. So let's see. And these aren't the perfect thing because like I can't click on it. But like we can zoom in and see that our answer is 8. So for this one, I'm going to say x is equal to 8. So go ahead and just kind of play around with these problems and we'll come back and kind of compare answers. Okay, so here are all the answers to the problems and that's it.